Good morning and welcome. Thank you. Today we will consider the work of Huntington's own Walt Whitman and its connection to Unitarian Universalism, particularly the third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. I'd like to welcome a very special guest who is with us today. Lisa Pulitzer is the Education Director at the Walt Whitman Birthplace. Not yet, but I'm just welcome. Yeah. She's going to do our chalice lighting. Just down the road in West Hills. Lisa and the rest of the WWBA staff, including the Executive Director, Cynthia Shore, do a magnificent job carrying on Whitman's legacy. In addition to being a state historic site where you can tour the home that Walt Whitman's father built around 1810, they offer a range of programs for kids and adults, including poetry readings, writing workshops, and book discussions open to all. For example, this year they're hosting a series on the legacy of Long Island's First Peoples, the most recent installment of which focused on Long Island Native Americans' boarding school experience. On September 14th, they'll host a young authors and writers poetry party. My point is that something's always going on at Whitman and you should check it out. I've been very fortunate to work with Lisa to bring my students to the birthplace. She directs a wonderful student poetry contest. Its award ceremony is one of my favorite events of the spring, and I'm very, very pleased to have her with us here today. So please give her a warm welcome. Please be sure to say hello after the service, consider visiting the birthplace, and sign up for the email listserv to learn about all of their wonderful programming. Before Laura and I had Millie and Wit, I volunteered there. I gave tours to people from all over the world, Europe, India, Japan, and for us, it's right down the road. As we reflect on Whitman's work, may we gather with open hearts and minds to celebrate his expansive sense of self. His self, you will see, takes in all of time and space. As Whitman wrote, we are all a part of all that we have met. May we see the divine light within one another and accept each person as they are with compassion. Let us remember that though we each take different paths, we are united in our longing for meaning, purpose, and spiritual growth. That's why we're here together. May we encourage that growth in this congregation by actively listening, practicing radical acceptance of one another, and fostering relationships of equality grounded in love. Let Whitman's vision of unity amidst diversity inspire us. May we transcend boundaries that divide us and work together for justice with humility and courage. May we be open to new understandings, new friendships, and new possibilities as together we kindle within ourselves a spirit of wonder and joy at the gift of life.
Good morning. My name is Terry Donaldson. My pronouns are she and her, and I will be this morning's worship associate. Today's service is a Sunday program committee service being led by one of our members, Graham Otten. Next Sunday, there will be no service, giving everyone time to celebrate the end of summer. Our interim minister, Reverend Dr. Deborah Hafner, will be back in our pulpit on September 10th for our homecoming service. Join us for the first Sunday of the 2023-24 congregational year. We do have a few announcements. Mark your calendars. Our 75th anniversary committee has been busy planning ways to celebrate this momentous milestone, 75 years old, and 60 of those years here at 109 Browns Road in Huntington. An invitation has been sent out inviting you to join the celebration. There will be a party Saturday, September 23rd from 6 to 9 p.m. and a special Sunday service led again by Reverend Deborah on September 24th, followed by a brunch potluck. Check your email or for the e-blast or your newsletter, the flash, or look on our website, UUFH.org, at news and announcements for details on getting your ticket. You must RSVP and get a ticket. We hope to see you there. Huntington Family Pride is hosting another beach meetup on Tuesday, August 29th at 6 p.m. at Fleet's Cove Beach. Pack up a blanket and some snacks and look for the Huntington Family Pride sign. Stan Melman, a UUFH member and photographer of the gallery photographs, will be with us following the service in the gallery. If you purchased a photo, you can take it with you today. There are framed and unframed photos available for purchase. Half of the sales go to the UUFH. Today is the last day of the exhibit. And now I invite you to take a breath and please join us in singing our affirmation, Common Ground. The words are on the screen.
Today's chalice lighting, which Lisa's going to do for us, comes from the Reverend Rob Hardies' reflection on the third principle. Spiritual growth isn't about a vertical ascent to heaven, but about growth in every dimension at once. It's spirituality in 3D. Growth in spirit doesn't measure one's proximity to a God above, but rather the spaciousness of one's own soul, its volume, its capacity, its size. We need souls that can take in the world in all its complexity and diversity, yet still maintain our integrity. And we need souls that can love and be in relationship with all of this complexity. Instead of fight or flight, we need a spiritual posture of embrace. Thank you, Lisa. Today's readings will come from Whitman's Song of Myself, his epic declaration of the expansive self. Instead of reading the selections, we'll be viewing short clips from a documentary film project called Whitman, Alabama. The creators describe it in this way. Whitman, Alabama is an experiment in using documentary and poetry to reveal the threads that tie us together as people, as states, and as a nation. For 2 years, filmmaker Jennifer Crandell crisscrossed the deep southern state, inviting people to look into a camera and share part of themselves through the words of Walt Whitman. The 19th century poet's Song of Myself is a quintessential reflection on our American identities. The first section of the poem will be familiar to many here. It's read by Virginia Mae Schmidt, who was 97 years old at the time of the filming. When Jan, the filmmaker, first moved to town, she met Virginia Mae after a church theater performance. Virginia Mae was one of the actors. You'll be able to see for yourselves just how captivating she is.
Look right here for me, Virginia Mae. Just like you are, looking right here at the camera.
Don't move. Stay right there. It just starts like that.
And start like this?
And then starts. What do you
I
think?
like it. Yeah, let's do it.
Is this before or after the drink of water?
No drinking.
No drinking. No drinking in this home.
I actually put some whiskey in there.
No, shoot. I thought you were going to bring me a scotch and soda. I celebrate myself and sing myself. And what I assume, you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. I loaf and invite my soul. I lean and loaf at my ease, observing a spear of summer grass. My tongue, every atom of my blood formed from this soil, from this air. Born here of parents, born here from parents the same, and their parents the same. I, now 37 years old, and in perfect health, begin. hoping to cease not till death. Creeds and schools and abeyance, retiring back a while, sufficed at what they are, but never forgotten. I harbor for good or bad. I permit to speak at every hazard. Nature without check, with original energy.
That was excellent. Yeah. Pretty good at this.
Did we get it?
Please join in singing Spirit of Life. This is the time in our service for you to share your joys and concerns by silently lighting a candle as Isabella plays quietly for us. You may have your joy or concern read aloud by writing it on a slip of paper and giving it to our pastoral care associate, who will be standing by the front candles. Please approach the front through the center aisle and head back to your seats by the side aisles. You may come forward. I'd like to share a joy to Justine and Akiva on their upcoming marriage, and a thought for, and a thought for Rosalind. Like the candles we now light to mark our joys and concerns, we are like the speaker of Song of Myself, who says, I too am not a bit tamed. I too am untranslatable. I sound my barbaric yawp, those of both elation and sorrow, over the roofs of the world. Each week, our Sunday offerings are collected and split between UUFH and a designated charity of the month. Today's collection will be the final one for the Huntington Township Housing Coalition, HTHC. I hope you were inspired by our speaker last week, the young man who is president of the Huntington Township Housing Coalition. Hunter Gross is working with passion to open space in Huntington to welcome people of all means into our community by calling attention to the economic state of housing in our community. The current lack of affordable housing for people in jobs just like those many of us had in our day. I am personally thankful for the work Hunter is doing as I watch my own children around his age try to make a go of it here in Huntington, where they grew up. We need to support this organization's work to make change. Please be as generous as you are able in supporting the Huntington Township Housing Coalition.
For our next reading, Song 17. It's read by a student named Mariam, who had just immigrated to the United States. One of the producers met her through a creative writing nonprofit and thought she would be perfect as a reader for the Whitman, Alabama project. You'll see in a moment that he was right.
This is the grass that grows wherever the land is and the water is. This is the common air that bathes the globe.
Okay, is that better?
I keep messing it up.
No, it's totally fine. If you stumble like that, it's totally okay.
This is take 9.
These are really the thoughts of all men in all ages and lands. If they are not original with me, if they are not yours, oh, sorry, I forgot it's the second line. If they are not yours as much as mine, they are nothing or next to nothing. If they are not the riddle and the untying of the riddle, they are nothing. E si tawi ɓe ɓadondirawana no ɓe woɗɗondiri, haɗa ɗon kadi ko ɓe fus. This is the grass that grows wherever the land is and the water is. This is the common air that bathes the globe.
That was awesome.
That was really, 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 really good. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
You're also welcome.
So as I said earlier, I wanted to focus this service on the third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. It struck me that the Reverend Hardies' concept of a spiritual posture of embrace is very much in the Whitman tradition. I hear that phrase and I can picture the speaker of Song of Myself leaning and loafing, letting the world come to him. And while reception is typically a typically passive act, he is simultaneously engaged in the active creation of a world imagined, preserved, and reborn in his verse. Without Whitman, I doubt very much that I would be here today, not like in existence, but here in this congregation as a Unitarian Universalist. My introduction to Whitman came late in high school and into college. I met him at a time in my life when I was just beginning an academic study of literature. There was also a time in my life when I thought I had everything figured out. My course had been charted. I was just left to follow its unfolding. We all conquer the world at 18, don't we? Well, things haven't unfolded in the way I predicted, and here I am, happily, sharing with you a small sample of the work that continues to transform my life. I should note that I'm indebted to Professor Ed Folsom, a Whitman scholar without peer, for much of the analysis that follows. Song of Myself is the American epic. It's the clearest expression of Whitman's enormity, his largeness of being, and we're all heirs to it. Not just us here in Huntington, or the North, or America, but everyone, all forms and expressions throughout the world, throughout the universe. And when I consider the third principle in the light of Whitman's work, though this is probably true of any of the principles, it offers language and vision to anchor my understanding of UU spirituality. Throughout the poem, Whitman enlarges his supreme subject, the self. At every borderline, he swells to something more. The poem is a miraculous articulation of acceptance and spiritual growth, our third principle. We've already heard songs 1 and 17. In a moment, we'll journey to the end of the poem with the penultimate, Song 51. Along the way, we'll track the continuous expansion that Whitman sings. In Song 1, Whitman begins with a traditionally metered line and an allusion to the Aeneid, a great old world epic, before immediately breaking form and upending that epic tradition. He's to be an original. His voice will be as one of the roughs, vernacular, patterned without patterning, free verse. His tool will not be a spear of war, but a spear of grass, humble, omnipresent, essential. I celebrate myself and sing myself. Whitman becomes his own muse, and we are introduced to his supreme subject, I. Etymologically, to celebrate means to return or frequent. And Whitman will return to himself over and over again throughout the poem as he reaches the boundaries of self, absorbing what's beyond him before returning to a smaller, more familiar form. These are acts of integration and growth. He's assuming a spiritual posture of embrace, really in the extreme. The whole poem will become an experiment to take within him as much as possible. Contradictions, paradoxes, all of it. And he succeeds. Whitman immediately instructs us to abandon the typical causes of strife, religion and possessions. What I assume, you shall assume, and what belongs to me as good belongs to you. To us, dear friends. Once the terms have been set, his expansive meditation begins with the consideration of a spear of summer grass. How humble. He invites his soul to join his body, Channeling the energy of creation, he reaches back through time and familial history as he sets out on this ambitious journey of self-exploration and expansion. Nature without check with original energy, he concludes. Everything is made new by this expansive sense of self. Whitman has shown us that we are constantly in exchange of materials, ideas, experiences. Take nothing as static. We're to take nothing as being fixed. The subject I is then accompanied by its partner you. You, the reader, you, the democratic world, you, the global community. The second reading was Song 17, which Marion breathed such beautiful life into. In this very brief section, Whitman reifies his claim. He distills it. He becomes a prophet, channeling the voice of Old Testament figures, insisting that what he offers is truth, one known by women and men of all ages. Whitman has expanded his concept of self to capture not just space and time, but to reach far enough to the interior of another and claim their thoughts and feelings, to claim our thoughts and feelings as his own. What is yours is mine. The riddle must also be the riddle's answer. What's close must also be distant. And from there, the poet continues his journey, starting here on Long Island, before heading to Brooklyn and Manhattan to walk among the actors and ferrymen. He begins to leave his own lived experience to explore scenes of the frontier and eventually the cosmos. In the intervening sections, he journeys outward. In Song 16, he had cataloged the many contradictions contained within him, young and old, man and woman, northerner and southerner, remember when he's writing. In Song 19, he gathers us around a table that's been set for everyone. In 23, he expounds on the biology of language, the endless unfolding of words of all the ages. He surveys our evolutionary past in Song 31. We cannot be complete without understanding and respecting every previous form, he posits. In the longest section of the text, Song 33, he catalogs copious forms, people, animals, plants, and experiences. He takes them all in. They all become a part of him. In Song 39, he meets an indigenous person. He wonders, he's on the frontier. He wonders, the friendly and flowing savage, who is he? Is he waiting for civilization or past it and mastering it? Yes, the connotation of the word savage is ugly to our contemporary understanding, but at its root, it means one from the woods, and that's the intended meaning. As Whitman wonders about civilization's progress, what a modern question to consider as we think on our own ecological issues and the promises, potential promises, of an indigenous sense of the cycles of life. In Song 41, he looks at divinities and symbols from many faiths, Christ, Odin, Zeus, Allah, Manito, Jehovah. He sizes them up, measures them, appreciates their contributions, and offers to outbid them all with his newly constructed but ancient self. Surveying them, he asks, is that all? What an audacious, irreverent, and maybe even essential question. The expansion continues. In Song 44, he asks, the clock indicates the moment, but what does eternity indicate? We have thus far exhausted trillions of winters and summers. There are trillions ahead and trillions ahead of them. Continuing out, he addresses death in Song 49. And as to you, death, and you, bitter hug of mortality, it is idle to try to alarm me. And as to you, life, I reckon you are the leaving of many deaths. No doubt I have died myself 10,000 times before. And then we arrive here at Song 51, the second to last section of the poem, right before Whitman sounds his barbaric yawp that Terry mentioned before, and instructs us to look for him under our boot soles. There's so much going on. He's zooming in on the smallest experiences and forms before zooming out, moving from the form of the atom and the experience of a quiet evening conversation to the form of the cosmos and the experience of transcendent connection. We come to Whitman's finale, his charge to us, the reader, breathing life into his words, into him. I think you'll recognize a few more of his lines in Song 51, which we'll hear in a moment, including perhaps his most famous lines, do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes. This will be another video from the Whitman, Alabama project. The reader, Donnie, is a fixture in Birmingham, selling treats from his motorized wheelchair. As his friend and language pathologist says, anyone who gets to know Donnie becomes his friend. Enjoy.
The front of my chair. Thank I sell candy and gum. Would you like to buy some? Everything is $1. The candy and gum is behind my chair. Please, put the money in the bucket on the front of my chair. Thank you. I sell candy and gum. Would you like to buy some? Everything is $1. The candy and gum is behind my chair. Please, put the money in the bucket on the front of my chair. Thank you. The candy and gum is behind my chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Verse 51. The past and present willed. I have filled them, empty them, and proceed to fill my next fold of the future.
Have a good weekend.
I see you.
Now, when I leave, don't tell me roll tide.
I got to do what I got to do. Roll tide, roll tide. Roll tide, roll tide.
Shame on you.
Listener up there, what have you to confide to me? Look in my face while I snuff the sidle of evening. Talk honestly. No one else hears you, and I stay only a minute longer.
Right here. Welcome, baby.
Did you just check her out?
I got to do what I got to do. Do I contradict myself? Very well then. I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. How are you?
Good. Kind of hot today, isn't it?
Yes.
You have a good weekend.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Good evening. Stay dry.
What do you think, Donnie?
It's all good. I sell candy and gum. Would you like to buy some? I concentrate toward them that are nigh. I wait on the door slab. Who has done his day's work? Who will soonest be through with his supper? How are you? Yes. Take care of yourself. No. Who wishes to walk with me? Will you speak before I am gone? Will you prove already too late? Goodbye. I sell candy and gum. Would you like to buy some? Everything is $1. The candy and gum is behind my chair. Please, put the money in the bucket on the front of my chair.
The challenge is put to the reader, put to us to continue the poem, to enter into an act of co-creation, which has been the poem's project all along. Whitman is reaching through the page across time and space. He's spent the previous 50 sections filling himself with forms and experiences. He now characterizes them all as wilted flowers. The past is not to be dwelled upon. Everything is to be made new again, something we are doing by reading these old words. Whitman's self is reborn in our reading, and simultaneously a new version of ourselves emerges. So that's the brief tour of Song of Myself. In the context of this service, what does it have to offer us? Well, anytime I read Whitman, it challenges me to push beyond the borders of my own life and experiences, the comforts of what's familiar, of what's within reach. Without discrimination, Whitman makes everyone a part of himself. That's not an easy model to follow, but in the spirit of the third principle, accepting others and encouraging each other to spiritual growth within our congregations, I'd like to complete a very, very brief meditative exercise. I know that gives people the willies sometimes, so I promise it's painless. It's from a practice you might be familiar with, metta or loving kindness. So please, if you're comfortable, close your eyes and take a deep breath. Exhale. Let's start by imagining everyone in the world. Consider being able to fly above all the cities and neighborhoods while everyone is outside. You see all of humanity. Wish them all well. In your mind, say to them, may you be happy. Now imagine a neutral person, someone you neither like nor dislike. Maybe it's someone that you occasionally see around town. Once you have them in your mind's eye, wish them well. Say to them, may you be happy. May you be free from suffering. Now imagine a benefactor, someone who has helped you in your life. Again, say to them, may you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you find joy. Now yourself. Stand outside of yourself for a moment. Observe yourself. Notice the qualities of yourself that you don't typically notice. And say, may you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you find joy. May you be loved. Okay, here's the last one. And because it's the most challenging, it promises the most reward. Think of your enemy. If you don't have enemies, think of someone you dislike, maybe for personal, moral, political reasons. As you conjure this person's image, notice how you feel. Maybe you feel anger, or pain, or sadness. Now look at that person. And with even more sincerity than you've used for the previous four, say, may you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you find joy. May you be loved. Take another breath. Exhale. Open your eyes. Thank you all for doing that with me. Thank you for supporting me during this service. Thank you for hearing about our local poet, my literary hero and spiritual guide, Walt Whitman. And thanks for encouraging me to spiritual growth, to contradict myself, to contain multitudes.
Thank you, Graham. And of course, one last guide from Walt Whitman as we extinguish our chalice and go out into the world. It is entitled, "This is What You Shall Do." This is what you shall do. Love the earth and sun and the animals. Despise riches. Give alms to everyone that asks. Stand up for stupid and crazy. Devote your income and your labor to others. Hate tyrants. Argue not concerning God. Have patience and indulgence toward the people. Take off your hat to nothing known or unknown, or to any man or number of men. Go freely with powerful, uneducated persons, and with the young, and with the mothers of families. Read these leaves in the open air every season of every year of your life. Re-examine all you have been told at school or church or in any book. Dismiss whatever insults your own soul, and your very flesh shall be a great poem and have the richest fluency, not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face, and between the lashes of your eyes, and in every motion and joint of your body.
For those of you who have joined us virtually, enjoy the rest of your day.